Good day, grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's session of Mathematical Literacy. My name is Nikki Wezulu, and this lesson is proudly brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Education in collaboration with the Saibono Discovery Center. Girls and boys, today you wrote your paper 1 preliminary exam. I hope the paper was kind to you. And then this afternoon, we are going to focus on paper 2, which is the paper that you guys will be writing next week, Monday. When you get your paper 2 on Monday, just like paper 1, the paper will be out of 150 marks and for 3 hours. What you need to make sure on Monday as you go into the exam room, make sure that you've got your pens, blue pens for that matter, and bring an extra pen. Make sure that you have your pencil. Make sure that you have a functional calculator. And most importantly, make sure that you bring a ruler, because with paper 2, you are definitely going to be asked to make some measurement. And by ruler, guys, I'm talking about a proper ruler that has the visible numbers, not a ruler that you've shared amongst your friends, that you've broken into 3 equal parts. It must be a full ruler with all the numbers displayed on that particular ruler. Now, these are the topics that you guys must prepare for the paper that you are going to write on Monday. The first topic, it is your maps, plans, and other representations of the physical world. And out of 150, this topic weighs 60 marks. Plus minus 60 marks is going to be from that topic of the maps, plans, and other representations of the physical world, which is a much, much easier topic. So if you can get all those marks, you are definitely going to pass your paper 2. And then the second topic that you must go and prepare, it is the section of measurement. Now, remember in paper 1, I said the biggest topic in paper 1 was finance. Now, for paper 2, the biggest boss in paper 2, it is your measurement, because measurement weighs 55%, meaning plus or minus 82 marks in the question paper is allocated to the section of measurement. And then thirdly, the section of probability, it is there in your exam with probability. It ranges between 7 and 8 marks of the question paper. And just like in paper 1, you can also expect the growth charts. Remember where you calculate your BMI and all that. So don't be surprised if you see the growth charts in the exam. They can also be expected. This is the structure that you must expect when you get the paper on Monday. You are going to have your question 1. Question 1 is your knowledge question. The basic questions, easy questions, straightforward. Most of the questions under question 1, they are worth 2 marks, meaning you are not supposed to be spending a lot of time on those questions thinking. So the topics that will be covered under question 1, it is a mix. We say it's integration. By integration, we mean that the topics are mixed. There is measurement, there is maps and plans. Sometimes you can also find probability in your question 1. But all those questions, they are your lower order questions. By lower order, we mean that those are the easiest question in the question paper. And then your question 2, that is where now you are going to see the section of maps and plans. That is where you will see your scale. That is where you will find your layout plans, your different types of maps, all those calculations. You can even find your packaging falls under maps and plans. You can find your assembly diagram. All those you will find under question 2. And then for your question 3, that is the section of measurement. Remember I said with paper 2, measurement is the big boss. So all your sections from your conversions, your basic, metric conversion, your imperial conversion, the recipes, calculating perimeter, area, volume, surface area, and even the definitions. All those you are going to find in your question 3. Now for your question 4 and question 5, that is where we talk about integration again. Remember I spoke about integration in question 1, but that question 1 integration, it is the easier part. With question 4 and 5, again, you are going to find integration of the topics, but then at this time, the level of questioning now is not the same as question 1. With question 4 and 5, it goes deeper, meaning the level is going a bit higher. And then under the section of maps and plans, we have the following subsections. The first part, it is scale. So you must be prepared to work with the different types of scales. Remember, in Maths Lit, we work with how many scales? 2 scales. I will elaborate that further. And then you must be ready to work with the layout plans. They can give you a layout of a shopping center. They can give you a layout of the cinema, how people are seated. Currently, you guys are writing your prelim exams, and the way in which you sit, you don't just sit next to your friend. You sit according to a certain seating plan. So don't be surprised in the exam when you see a seating plan. But the nicest thing is that you guys are familiar with the seating plans. You are able to interpret them. Otherwise, you'd be sitting at the wrong place during the exams. You must expect to work with the different types of maps. It can be maps of smaller areas. It can be your large maps. It can be your strip chart. It can be your street maps, provincial maps, distance table, elevation maps. All those maps that you were taught in class, you must expect to find them in the exam on Monday. And then your floor plans and your elevation plans, you must know the difference between a floor plan and an elevation plan. And then lastly, we are going to look also at the section of models. And then these are the terminologies that you guys must know. So you might be asked to explain any of the concepts in the exam. And then when it comes to the terminology, like I mentioned yesterday, is that you might be expected to explain the concept according to the given context. So you must be able to explain what is a scale. If they ask you to explain a scale, you must be able to explain that. When they talk about elevation plan, you must be able to explain that. When they talk about a street map, you must understand what a street map is, because they can ask you to define it. And then all these are the different terminologies that you might come across in the exam tomorrow. Well, now let's start to what you should expect in the exam as far as the maps and plans are concerned. And the maps and plans, you must expect to work with the different types of scale, like I said. And in Maths Lit, we only have 2 scales. The first scale, it is a number scale. If you don't want to say a number scale, you can say it is a ratio scale. Ratio, number scale, same WhatsApp group. So what you should know is that a number scale, it is this one. It is written as a number. That is why it's called a number scale. It is written as a ratio. That is why it's called a ratio scale. So you must know how to explain it. How do we explain this? They can ask you what is the meaning of the scale, or they can ask you to explain the given scale. So you must be able to say 1 unit on the map, it represents 100 units in reality. So this you must know how to explain. So always it is 1 unit on the map. The first one, the first value, this one, it represents the distance on the map. It represents how many units? It is 100 units where in reality. Or sometimes in the exam, you forgot the word unit. So instead of unit, you can use what? You can use centimeters. But if you use centimeters here, it means even here now you must also use what? Centimeters. Whatever unit that you choose with the number scale, the units must always be the same. And then the second type of a scale, it is a bar scale. So a bar scale, it is given like this, as you can see here in this image. It is called a bar scale because it is shown as a bar. And with a bar scale, you can never ever be able to operate with a bar scale without a ruler. Because before you can even interpret or explain the meaning of your bar scale, you need to take the measurement. So this is how you explain your bar scale. If they ask you in the exam to explain the meaning of the bar scale, what you see here, our bar scale, it starts from 0 up to 4 meters. 4 meters is quite a large distance. So we do not expect to be having 4 meters on this small screen that you guys are watching right now. So it means that 4 meter, it is the actual distance. But on paper, which is what we measured with our ruler here, from 0. And when you measure with your ruler, you must always measure from the point of 0. You always measure from where it's written 0. So with our ruler, it's from 0 up to what? Up to 5. And what is the unit? The unit is centimeters. So how would you explain the meaning of the scale? You are gonna say it's 5 centimeters. 5 centimeters measured on the map. It represents how many meters? It represents 4 meters in reality. So the most important thing, it is the 4 meter from the bar scale, and then it is 5 centimeter that you have measured. With this example, I've already measured for you. But in the exam, you will be expected to do the actual measurement yourself, and you must be able to explain the bar scale. So when you explain the bar scale, the units don't have to be the same. We write the units exactly as they are. But remember, with the number scale, the units must always be the same. So in the exam, you must expect them to ask you to identify the type of scale, or you must expect to explain the meaning of the given scale. Either one of those two questions will be in the exam on Monday. And then again, the other thing that you must expect when working with scale, you must expect to use calculations to calculate the actual distance between point A and point B. Sometimes they can give you the actual distance, and then they want you to calculate the map distance using the given scale. So that should not be difficult to do. And then again, the last thing under scale, you must be able to compare a bar scale and a number scale. Give advantages and disadvantages of using a particular scale. And then under maps, these are the different types of maps that you guys must be familiar with by now. You've done this in your classes. You've even done this in your SIP revision classes. You must be familiar with the seating plans and the layout plans. I made a perfect example of the seating plan in your classrooms as you guys are writing exams. So what you should know, you should be able to interpret the given seating plan, and then all the questions. The beauty of this topic of maps and plans is that all the questions that are asked, the answers are based on the diagram that is given to you. All the answers are on the map. So you must be familiar with the layout of building, the store shopping centers, the sitting plans in a cinema, sitting plan at the stadium. Sometimes they can even show you the layout plan in a bus. So whichever way that is given to you, you know that all the answers are given in the sitting plan. Yours is just to interpret your sitting plan and make sure that you understand it. If you are given any keys at the bottom to indicate that this key indicates vacant seats, this key, it shows that these seats are occupied, you must be able to understand the keys, because you'll also be having questions that are based on the keys that are provided. This is an example of a sitting plan, and in this case, it's a sitting plan at a stadium. The people that have been to the stadium before to watch a Kaizer Chiefs and Pirates match, or Kaizer Chiefs and Sundowns match, you'll understand that when you purchase the tickets to go and watch soccer, you don't just sit anywhere. You sit according to a certain sitting plan. So when you purchase a ticket, there's a seat number. It's just like in the exams, guys. When you enter your exam room, you don't just sit anywhere. You sit according to the given sitting plan. So that is the same case here. You sit according to the sitting plan. So what you must make sure is that you understand your sitting plan. You understand all the keys that are given to you. They're telling you that this is entrance 1, this is entrance 3, this is entrance 2. So the possible questions that the examiner can ask you in this case, they can ask you how many entrances are in the stadium. So you must be able to count it as 1, 2, 3. They can ask you how many seats are in the stadium. That means that you must physically count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. You count all the seats that are available in the stadium. They can ask you which seat will be the best seat to buy when you are going to watch a soccer. So you will have to use your own thinking to decide if you are sitting at the far end and someone that is sitting close by, which one will be the best seat to purchase. Or the examiner can give a scenario and say that the people that are purchasing seats on this area and this area, their tickets are more expensive than any other seats in the stadium. Why is that the reason? It is because these ones that are sitting here are getting a better view, a close-up view, rather than other people that are sitting in the far end. So all those are different questions that can be asked, but the most important thing is that the answers are given here. Or they can ask you to say, a person A is sitting here, and they want to go and see their friend that is sitting there. Give them the directions of how to get to their friend. That is where you explain, they must turn left, they must turn right, they must continue straight, and they'll pass 1, 2, and 3. So those are the possible questions that you can get in the section of the sitting plans. Another example, it is a street map with or without the grid reference. So here I have an example with what I want to emphasize here. It is the interpretation and the understanding of the grid reference. When you talk about the grid reference, you will see your map. You'll be having numbers like this side here, and then this side it is the alphabet. Sometimes it can be vice versa. You can have alphabets this side, and then you can have the numbers this side. So what you must do is that you need to understand that with this map, when we ask the position of a place, we don't want the letter, the writing, but rather we focus on the dot. The dot indicates the position. Because if here I'm going to ask you to give the grid reference for Gauteng. This is not where Gauteng is, but where is Gauteng? Gauteng is actually here. So the grid reference for Gauteng would be what? It will be C what? C2. So the grid reference for Gauteng will be C2. If I wanted the grid reference maybe for Limpopo, do you guys see that Limpopo is confusing? It is actually in both the two sides. So we are not interested in the name, but we are interested in the what? In the position. So we'll look at this as a position. This is actually Pietersburg. So, but let's say we're looking for Pietersburg. Pietersburg, again, it falls into 2 blocks, but we are not interested in this. We want the position. So therefore, this will be what? It will be D1. So the grid reference of Pietersburg would be D1. So when we give the grid reference, we always start with the alphabet, and then we give the number. The last one that's also confusing, it is East London. Look at East London. There is East London. But remember, we don't care about the name. We care about what? About the position. Meaning the grid reference now of East London will be what? Will be C4. So this is how you work with the grid reference. And the second map now, this one, it is a national map. I'm saying it's a national map because it shows the entire country, which is South Africa, and all the 9 provinces of South Africa. Sometimes you will get a map that is showing one province. Maybe it will be a map of Limpopo. That map is called a provincial map because it is showing what? Only a province. But this one, because it is showing all the provinces in the country, then this one is called a national map. The beauty of a national map is that, like this one, you are given, it shows all the provinces, and it also shows the cities of those provinces. So what they can ask you in this map, there's also national roads, though I know they are not that clear, but we also have the national roads there. So what they can ask how many national roads are on this map. So yours is just to count them 1, 2, 3, 4 and get the answer. They can ask you that, they can say a person is traveling from Polokwane and that person is going to Mabatu in Northwest. And then they can ask how many cities will this person pass. They can even ask how many provinces are shown in the map. Or they can ask, what are the countries that are neighboring South Africa? These are the countries that are neighboring South Africa. It's Namibia, it's Botswana, it's Zimbabwe, and we have Mozambique. And inside here, we also have Lesotho. Guys, Lesotho is not a province. Lesotho is a country. In the past, we've heard your brothers and sisters saying that Lesotho is also a province. Please don't make the same mistake. Lesotho is a country. So with this type of a map, but with all the other maps as well, the beauty of the maps is that all the answers are given in the map. Yours is to make sure that you understand the questions. Make sure that you understand the question, and then your answers are there. The next type of a map, it is a strip chart. We call it a strip chart because it is shown in a form of a strip. one of the advantages of using this map is that it has the distances indicated. The distances are shown on this particular map. Now, interpreting this map, it is showing the distance from Pretoria to Durban. And then it's only the distance from Pretoria to Durban when you are traveling on the N3. So when you see this line here, this road here, it is actually the N3. So if I want the distance from Pretoria to Durban, I will look here from Pretoria to Durban. The total distance is how much? It is 557 kilometers. If I want the distance from Durban to Pretoria going up, from Durban at 0 to Pretoria, the distance is still 557 kilometers, because it doesn't matter whether you are moving from point A to B or from point B to point A, the distances are the same. It doesn't matter. And then what you see here inside now here, you've got these places like your Bergville, your Bethlehem, your Harrismith is fine, it's on the N3. You've got Ladysmith. These places, you cannot find their distances. Why? Because they are not on the N3. It means as you are driving on the N3, for you to get to Ladysmith, you will need to leave the N3, join the N1 so that you can get to Ladysmith. And unfortunately, we don't have the distance from the N3 to the N1. So it means in this case, we can't find the distance from the maybe from Durban to Harrismith, or from anywhere else to Harrismith, because we don't have the distance in here. So these distances only account for this road in the middle, the national road in the middle. So that is the beauty of working with the strip chart, is that it shows all the distances. And then we have an elevation map. The most important thing that you need to know about an elevation map is that it shows the distance above the sea level. This is where the ground stops. Anything else there, it is below the sea level. As you can see that the values indicated are the negatives. And then this map, it is mostly used by people that are participating in the marathons. As you can see here, the distance, it means when they're starting, it is going up and then it goes down. So what is interesting about this map is that we are studying the steepness of the road that these people are traveling. Sometimes it will be going up, and then sometimes it goes down, and then it goes flat, but most of the time it is going up and down. And what you must also know is that this part here, it represents the distance, the total distance of the marathon. And this distance is normally given in kilometers. So what you see here, this was the start of the marathon. It was at 0 kilometers. And then here, they were exactly at 10 kilometers. And then here they were at 30 kilometers. And then this one here, it is the height above the sea level. So the possible questions that can be asked in this type of a map, they can ask, what was the highest height that was reached in this marathon? So this is the highest. It was how much? It was 200 meters. Normally the height here is given in what? In meters. It was 200 meters. And then they can ask, what was the height at 20 kilometers? This was 20 kilometers. And what was the height? It was just below 0. It is just below 0 meters. So those are the possible questions that can be asked. And then they can ask, between how many kilometers was the race most difficult, or was the race the steepest? I'm looking at this point. This is the point that was very, very steep. Imagine running to in this direction. So it means between 40 and 50 kilometers. Then that part, hey, Bezbuya, it was really, really bad. The most important thing, guys, that I want to emphasize with the section of maps and plans is that the answers are on the map. All the answers are on the map. My favorite, the distance table. The beauty about the distance table again is that the distances between the places are given, and they are given in what? In kilometers. Let's look at Beaufort West, our first place then. It is Beaufort West. If I wanted the distance between Beaufort West and Cape Town, this is where they meet. This is where they meet. It means the distance between Beaufort West and Cape Town is 463 kilometers. If I wanted the distance from Johannesburg to Klerksdorp, this is Johannesburg, this is like stop. It means the distance is what? Is 170 kilometers. Sometimes they can say a person is traveling from Cape Town to Pretoria via Bloemfontein. So I'm saying what it is. They're traveling from Cape Town to Pretoria via Bloemfontein. This via, it means they're going to pass at Bloemfontein first before they can get to Pretoria. So how would you determine the distance? You will say from Cape Town to Bloem, then from Bloem, because they are passing at Bloem, then from Bloem you'll say what? You'll say Pretoria. So how would you calculate now? You'll start to say, okay, from Cape Town to where to Bloemfontein. It is how much it is? 1015 kilometers, plus from Bloemfontein to where to Pretoria. From Bloemfontein to Pretoria, it is 492 kilometers. 492 kilometers. Then you add the two distances. I hope you guys are having your calculators, because there's gonna be a lot of calculations in this lesson. So it is 1015 plus 492, and then the answer is 1507, but it is what? It is kilometers. And then the examiner can ask you that why is it from Colesberg to Colesberg there is no distance that is indicated? Why is that the reason? That is because you are still in the same place. It's like you are standing in the same place. There is no movement, there's nothing. That is why there's no distance, because you are in the same place. And then we are gonna have the general direction. Guys, as soon as the question says give the general direction, then you know that you must use your compass direction, your north, your east, your south, and your west. But you guys are in grade 12 now. You will not get a complete compass direction like this. What can happen? The examiner can just give you an arrow facing up and say this is north. What you guys must know, that if they give you north like that, you must complete it yourself. You must know that if that is north, you must know what must be here, what must be here, and what must be there. So to help you guys remember, I say that you must never, ever smoke weed. So you know that the never represents what? North. The ever represents what? East. The smoke represents what? South. And the weed represents what? West. And then you know, if you've done this, then this is your northeast, this is your southeast, this is your southwest, and then finally this is your northwest. Sometimes you can get a compass direction that is pointing that side and they say this is north. You don't panic. You know that even if this is north, I must never, ever smoke weed. And then you complete that this is northeast, this is southeast, this is southwest, and then finally this is northwest. So it doesn't matter whichever way the compass is given to you, you will be able to complete it. So the possible questions that they will ask for with regards to this, they can ask you to give the general direction. When they say general, the keyword is general. It will normally be for 2 marks, and it is going to be in the exam. Is that you must use what? Now you know that you must use the compass direction. And then secondly, they can ask you to explain the direction or give the direction if a person is traveling from point A up to point B. Normally the mark allocation there is around 4, 5, 6 marks. That is where now you need to explain step by step that, okay, from point A you must turn left, you must turn right, and then you will see this, and then you will see that. How do we mark that question? When you mark that question, when you answer it, you must always mention the point of departure. If they say the person is traveling from school, you must mention, okay, from school, you must join Levi Street, and on Levi Street you must turn left, and then you continue on Levi Street. You will see the police station on your right, and then past the police station, as you continue down the road, you will see a church on your left. And then at the church street, you must turn right. So what we are doing here, you must mention the important landmarks. If there's a church, mention it. If there's a school, mention it. If there's a police station, mention it. You mention the landmarks. You mention the names of the streets. You mention the left, you mention the right. If you want to use the compass, the east, the west, the southerly direction, the northerly direction, you mention those things. And then finally, you must mention your point of arrival, that your destination will be on the left. If a person is going to church, you'll mention that the church will be on your right. So, and then when you write, guys, don't write as if you are writing an essay. When you give the instructions, write them nicely in a point form using the bullets, and try to be as brief and straightforward as possible. Again, the mark allocation will guide you in that regard. And then, guys, we have, okay, I'm sorry. That I said they can ask you 3 questions here. The first question, it is the general direction. Straightforward, 2 marks, you use the compass. The second question that they can ask you to explain the direction. If a person wants to move from point A to point B, sometimes a person will be sitting in a certain seat in a bus and they want to go and see their friend that is sitting in a certain seat in the same bus. So you must explain how they must move around. And then the third question, which is my favorite, it is when they give you the instruction. They tell you that here is Nikiwe, she's sitting at this place, and then from this place, she stands up, she turns left. After turning left at the intersection, she continues straight. And then she sees a church on her right, she passes it. She sees the police station again on her right, she passes it. And then what is the next building after the police station? It means they've been giving you the instruction. They want to see if you are able to follow the instruction or the direction. So in that question, I always advise learners to draw those directions. As you are reading on the map, the directions, draw them using your blue pen so that you do not get lost, so that you know exactly which town or which place or which building the person is going to. So that one, whereby they give you the instructions that you must follow, it is normally for 2 marks. I hope you guys will be able to get that 2 marks if you come across that in the exam on Monday. Now, you might be asked to calculate speed, distance, or time. So when you do this, we know the basic formula that we've been doing since grade 8 is that speed equals to distance over time. But the examiner now can ask you to calculate time and give you the speed formula. What do you do now in that case? Well, as with our previous learners in Gauteng, we use what we call the DSTV method. Why do I say it is the DSTV? It is the D, it is the T, I'm sorry, D, it is the S, it is the T. So DSTV, our V is facing down. And then from there, we close our V, we close everything inside we want to protect it. So what you must know is that this line here, this line, it means what? It means division. And then this line that you see here, do you see that it forms a cross? This line here, it means what? It means multiplication. So now when you want your speed, you will say speed equals to what is on top of the speed. On top of the speed, it is what? It is the distance. And then what is at the bottom? At the bottom is what? At the bottom, it is the T. And then remember what this line means? This line means divide. So the formula for speed equals to distance over time. But like I said, sometimes they want you to calculate time. So if you want to calculate time now, you are going to say T equals to what is on top of T? On top is what? It is distance. And then what is the bottom of T? At the bottom of T, we've got what? We've got speed. And then what is the meaning of this line between D and S? It means what? It means division. So the formula for time is the same. Is when you want to calculate time is given as distance over speed. And then the last one, which is the distance now, we say D equals to, with the distance, we don't have anything that is on top of another. Everything is just next to each other. So the first one is S, and then you've got the T. And then remember I said in between them, what is the sign there? It is multiplication. So if you want the formula for distance, distance equals to speed multiplied by time. So for you, you must know all these three formulas, but for you to know them, you just need to memorize the DSTV, because from the DSTV, that is where you are able to derive all the three formulas. That even if a question can say calculate time, even if a question can say calculate distance or speed, you know you are ready. You know which formula to use. And then we've got the floor plans and elevations. Guys, this is an example of a floor plan. I'm sorry, it's not very clear. If they can ask you to explain what is a floor plan. A floor plan, it is a view of a building or a house from the top. It shows us a view of a building or a house from the top without the roof. It means we are able to see the house inside as if we are viewing it from the top. You know how we always say that God is in the clouds. So it's like you are God and you are watching over your people on earth. So that is how you view that is the floor plan, guys. That is the floor plan. It shows the view of the house from the top. And then this one, it shows the view of the house from the outside. It shows you the front, it shows you the back, and it shows you the sides. This one that shows the outside of a house, it is called an elevation plan. So if they ask you to give the difference between a floor and an elevation plan, you tell them that the floor plan, it shows us the inside of the house from the top without the roof, whereas the elevation plan, it shows us only the outside part of the house. And if you are given the floor plan, they'll always give you the keys. So they will tell you that this key, it represents a wall. Well, not always. Sometimes they don't give you. This is something that you guys must know. It's more like a general knowledge for Mastery learners. That this symbol represents a window. This one, it represents a door. Why must you know these symbols? They can ask you from the floor plan, how many doors are in this plan? They can ask how many windows are in this plan. So you must know. If you don't know the symbol for a door, you won't be able to count the doors because you don't even know what you are counting. So that is it with regards to the floor plans and the elevation plans. And then most of the time, your floor plan will have a scale, be it a number or a bar scale. Most of the time, it's a number scale though. And then once you are given a scale, you must know that you are going to be asked to explain the meaning of the scale or identify the type of scale, and most definitely use the scale to perform calculations. And then we've got models. Under models, we've got the instruction and assembling diagrams. In this case, it can be a cell phone. Someone bought a cell phone and they don't know how to assemble. What is to assemble? To put together an object following a set of given instructions. To say step 1, do this, step 2, do this, step 3, do this. Most of the time, the way that they are asking these questions recently, they don't expect you guys to explain, to give the steps. That step 1, do this, step 2, do this. No. They'd rather give you the instructions and they mix them apart and they ask you to reshuffle them and put them in the correct order. Or they give you the items that you are going to use when you assemble that item, and they can ask you how many screws are there, how many wooden objects are there. It's just the nicest thing about this section, guys, is that the questions are lower other questions, and it's very short questions, your 2 marks questions. So it's not something that is worth scratching your head for. If they ask how many items are used to assemble, it's not something that you should be scratching yourself. You just count from what is given to you. And this is one section whereby you can even blame your teacher and say, Mr. Mgwena never taught me this. This one is general knowledge. This one is definitely on you guys. And then the last part of models, it is the section of packaging. Remember, with packaging, that is the part whereby we are packing boxes in containers, or we are packing bottles in containers, where we say the length of the bigger box divided by the length of the smaller box, the width of the bigger box divided by the width of the smaller box, to determine how many items can be packed in a particular space. And the most important thing, our interest when it comes to packaging, we want to pack in as many items as possible. Now, the second topic that you are going to find, remember the big boss in paper 2, it is your measurement. And measurement is divided into the 6 sections: your conversions, perimeter, area, volume, surface area, and your measuring weight. The most important thing, guys, when it comes to measurement, it is conversions. Conversion, it is your foundation, it is your basic, it is your alpha and omega of measurement. If you know your conversions, you are definitely going to pass your paper 2, because most of the time you are expected to convert from one system to the other, whether it's made between metric and metric or between metric and imperial, but you are expected to perform conversions. And then with measurement, again, just like maps and plans, there are terminologies that are involved, and you must know your terminologies. You must be able to explain your terminologies. You can be asked to explain what is area. You can be asked to explain what is a body mass index. A body mass index, it is the system that determines the health status of a person. It tells us whether a person is healthy or not. You must know your capacity. When you talk about capacity, what are you talking about? When you talk about volume, what are you referring to? When you talk about circumference, what is it that you are talking about? And the very popular one, it is perimeter. All of you by now should be knowing, should be saying that perimeter, it is the distance around a shape. You must know your diameter, you must know your radius. You must actually know the difference between your diameter and your radius. Now, when it comes to the conversions, the alpha and omega of measurement, guys, your metric system, it is the metric because it is the system that we use here in South Africa. So the metric system between length is when you convert between your meters, your centimeters, your millimeters, your kilometers. And I know you've done this in detail with your teachers. You guys are using different methods to help you understand. Others are using the Kilimanjaro, others are using King Henry, others are, there's so many methods that are used. So I'm going to show you the one that I use, the one that I understand, the one that I was taught in high school, that even now, after so many years of leaving high school, I still remember that one because it was a song that said, King Henry died a miserable death called measles. And then I know the conversion factor between all of them, it is 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, and 10. Remember, the K stands for what? For kilometers. And the mm stands for millimeters. Meaning the kilometer, it is your biggest unit. And your smallest unit is what is millimeters. And I know that if I'm moving from my larger unit to my smaller unit, I'm always going to multiply because I'm moving forward. So you are always going to multiply. And if you are moving from your smaller unit to a bigger unit, you are always going to divide. Guys, you are going to apply this in Monday's paper, whereby you have to perform calculations. And the conversion factor will not be given because you are expected to know this by heart. So when you get your paper on Monday, when they say you may start writing at 9 o'clock, at the back of your question paper or even in your answer sheet, inside your answer sheet, just before question 1, you write King Henry died miserable death called measles, because it is going to help you when it's time to do the conversions in the question paper. You must also know the conversion factor between mass or weight. Remember, with mass and weight, we work with what? With kilograms and grams. And on very rare occasions, we can work with what? With tons. But the most interesting one is between kilograms and grams, and the conversion factor is 1,000. When you move from a bigger one to a smaller one, we will always multiply. From a smaller one to a bigger one, we are always going to divide. And then the conversion factor between tons and kilograms, it is also 1,000. A ton is the biggest unit. That is the unit that we normally use to measure your trucks and all those. So it is 1,000 between tons and kilograms. And then lastly, we've got the measurement between volume, or rather liquids. And then with this one, we are working with liters and liters. Very rare occasion, especially in your tariffs, you can work with what? With kiloliters, or even in volume. Yeah, when you calculate volume. So the conversion factor between liters and a milliliter, it is a 1,000. When you move from a larger unit to a smaller one, you multiply. From a smaller one to a bigger one, you are going to divide. The same thing here, because a kiloliter is a large unit. We're talking about large amounts of water. If I wanted to measure the amount of water in a swimming pool, then I will have to use what? Kiloliters, because that's a lot of water. But if I just wanted to measure the amount of water in a bucket, then I will have to use the unit of liters. If I wanted to measure amount of water in this small bottle, the perfect unit to use there would be what? Would be milliliters. So between kiloliters and liters, again, the conversion factor is 1,000. And if you are moving this side, you are also going to multiply from kiloliters to liters. This, guys, this you must know this by heart. When you get your answer sheet on Monday, before question 1, in your answer sheet, rewrite this story. Rewrite it, because you are going to use it. Then you can constantly refer to it as you are going to use it. And then we have the conversion between the metric. Remember, the metric is the one that we use, that we know, your liters, your centimeters, your kilograms. And the imperial. The imperial system, it is the system that is used overseas in countries like your USA. So with this one, the beauty of this one is that you are not expected to know it by heart. The conversion factor will always be given. If they want you to convert from centimeters to inches, they will tell you if 1 inch is equals to so many centimeters. If they want you to convert from miles to kilometers, they will tell you if 1 mile is equivalent to so many kilometers. So with this one, you work with what is given to you. You are not expected to know that 1 inch is equals to 2.5 centimeters. So this again is where you guys must collect. You must collect a lot of marks, because the conversion factor here is given to you. And then we have our cooking conversions. This we see mostly when we are following a set of recipes. Maybe someone could be baking scones, could be baking bread, or could just be doing a recipe of cooking a stew, a beef stew. So this is where now they need to know. They can ask you that if the recipe said maybe 5 milliliters of salt, how many teaspoons is that? Again, with this one, you are not expected to know by heart that 1 cup is equals to 250 milliliters. This must be given in the exam. 1 tablespoon equals to 15 milliliters. It will be given to you. If they ask you that how many milliliters are in 3 tablespoons, they must tell you if 1 tablespoon is equals to 15 milliliters. So this is another conversion, but the beauty of it is that you will be given the conversion table. A very nice one, temperature. This one, guys, in the exam is normally 2 or 3 marks. At most, it will be 3 marks. With temperature, the formula will always be given. You can either be converting from degrees Celsius to degrees Fahrenheit. So remember, the degrees Celsius, it is the metric. It is the one that we are using here. Whereas the degrees Fahrenheit, it is what? It is the imperial. So the beauty of these two is that the formula will always be provided. If you want to calculate degrees Celsius, you'll use formula number 1. If you want to calculate degrees Fahrenheit, you will use formula number 2. So here, you just substitute as it is on your calculator, guys. You must substitute as it is. You put the brackets where there are brackets, because if you don't insert the brackets, your calculator will perform BODMAS. It will multiply these two values, and then it will give you the wrong answer. Even here, make sure that you insert everything as it is. Most importantly, the brackets must be where the brackets are, so that you get an accurate answer. This one, whether it's 2 or 3 marks, all of us must get this one. It's very easy. It's for everyone. And then, guys, your time. You must know how to read your time. You must know the different time formats. When you have this one, this time that is given, you see that it is the digits. We used to call it panya panya. I don't know the language that we are using today. This one, it is called a digital time. So the examiner can give you 2 of these clocks and ask you to name each of the two clocks. So this one, it is the digital time, and this one, this normal clock, I think most of us, we have this one at our homes. This one, it is called the analog clock or analog time, yes. And then we have the time formats. There is the 12-hour format, there is the 24-hour format. With the 12-hour format, we only work with the values from 1 up to 12. Whether it's morning, whether it's afternoon, whether it's 8 in the morning, whether it's 8 in the evening, we are using the number 8. So we are just working with the numbers from 1 up to 12. The thing that helps us to indicate whether it's in the morning or afternoon or in the evening, we use the words AM and PM. So we know that if it is 1 AM, it is 1 in the morning. If it is 1 PM, it means it is 1 in the afternoon. If it is 9 AM, it is the 9 where you guys were writing in the morning. If it is 9 PM, it is 9 o'clock in the evening. So that is the 12-hour format. It works with the numbers from 1 to 12. And then we've got our 24-hour format. With the 24-hour format, it starts from the letter 0. When the clock says 0000, then you know that it is midnight. Midnight at 12. Remember on the 31st, when you sing Happy New Year, that is when the clock says 00. And then from there on, it starts counting 1, 2. When it's 01, like this, 01, we know that this means it is 1 o'clock when in the morning. Because after 12 midday, after 12 now, you start counting now. We are continuing right up until 23. Then you know that when you've got this means that it is 2 o'clock when in the afternoon. But if it was like this, it means it is 2 o'clock when 2 o'clock in the morning. So that is the one there, the 24-hour format. Most of us, we are familiar with the 24-hour format. We know that it is 1400 afternoon, 02 in the morning. But both of the time formats, we are using them. You must just know the difference between the two. And then you must know your conversions, guys. These are the basics. You did this in grade 4. You must know that a day has 24 hours. An hour has 60 minutes. A minute has 60 seconds. A week has how many days? 7 days. A month has what? 4 weeks. When you talk about a millennium, we're talking about a century, 10 centuries. 10 centuries. When you talk about a century is what? It's 100 years. When you talk about a decade, we are talking how many years? We are talking 10 years. You guys are expected to know that. It's general knowledge, guys. Nothing new. You can't say my teacher didn't teach me this. So the exam tips, guys, when it comes to working with the perimeter, area, and volume, you must know how to define your terminologies. You must know how to explain area, perimeter, volume, capacity, radius, and volume. Please, you have the whole weekend. Go and revise your terminologies. And then before you can calculate anything, whether it's perimeter or area, always make sure that your units are the same. If they give you a bottle and then the dimensions are in millimeters and centimeters, you must know already that there's a problem, because we do not work with different units. All our units must be the same. And if you're working with a circle and then they give you a diameter, they say diameter is 12, you must write it in your answer sheet, even if they didn't ask you. If they say diameter is 12, you must say, okay, therefore my radius is going to be 6, because the radius is half of the diameter. If they tell you that the diameter is 20, you say, oh, therefore my radius is equals to 10. Even if before they ask you, the fact that they give you a diameter, you are definitely going to need what the radius, either in the formula or they will ask it straightforward, what is the radius? So you must be ready for this one, where you must also use the given value of pi. When you work with circles or cylinders and you have to do calculations, the value of pi will always be given, which is 3,142. I'm not expecting you guys to memorize this, because this will always be given in the exam together with the formula. I'm just conscientizing you guys so that you don't use the pi on the calculator We've got our maths returned soldiers, people that were doing pure maths last year. In pure maths, you use pi equals to 22 over 7. In Mathslit, we don't. You work with the value of pi that is given to you. You must know your formulas, guys, not really by head, but you must be able to identify them, because the question paper can give you different options and then they ask you to choose the correct formula to use if you wanted to calculate the circumference. So if you don't know the formula for circumference, it will be very difficult for you to choose the correct formula, because all the three formulas that will be given, 3 or 4, they will look plus or minus the same. So make sure that at least you are familiar with your formulas. And then you must use the correct units. If you are calculating perimeter, means that your answer can be in meters, in centimeters, or millimeters. If you are calculating area, we are talking square units. If you are talking calculating volume, we are talking cubic units. And lastly, you must expect to calculate perimeter, area, volume, and surface area using the given formula. For this question, guys, when you have to calculate, you will always be given the formula. You don't have to panic. This one, the formula is given. Make sure before you substitute that all the units are the same. You cannot, guys, you can't substitute different units. You can't substitute millimeters and centimeters in one formula. You must decide and use only one unit. And then, like I said, that you can also expect the growth charts, like your BMI in the exam. This is just an example of the growth chart, and then this is the formula that we use when we calculate BMI. Remember, BMI stands for what? Body Mass Index. And then our formula, it wants the mass, but the mass must be in kilograms. And then the height, it must be in what? It must be in meters. So this is the formula that we are using. The examiner can confuse you and give you the mass in what? In grams. You must know immediately that with BMI, we work with the mass of what? Of kilograms. Or they can confuse you and give you the height in centimeters. You must remember that with BMI, our height must always be in meters before you can substitute into the given formula. So here are the possible exam questions. I hope this map is clear and beautiful on your big screens in your different classes. Question 1, they say Thabo and friends use the map alongside to plan their trip from Pretoria to Cape Town. So I'm looking at the map. Here is Pretoria. They're traveling from Pretoria to where to Cape Town, and there is Cape Town. But what I'm noticing in this map is that there is a compass direction and it is pointing up, that is north. Already you are in the exam, you completed that. Oh, it is never ever smoke weed. The fact that they give you a compass, they are going to ask you about a compass. They are going to ask you the general direction. What else do I see on this map? I see a scale. They're going to ask us to identify the type of scale. So you must be able to mention that, okay, this is a bar scale. And already you take out your ruler. You measure your bar scale that from this point to this point, this is how many millimeters, or this is how many centimeters, because it might be asked. Another thing that I noticed on our map there, it is the national roads. There are so many national roads on the map. I see here is the N1, here is N12, N14, N2. So it means they will ask me about the national roads. Either they'll ask me to identify the national roads from one place to another, or they can ask me how many national roads are on the map, or they can ask me what does the N stand for in N1. N stand for, it means what? It means national road. So, but I know there will be a question on the national road. The beauty of maps, guys, is that all the questions will be based on the map. They will not give you a map whereby they won't ask you questions on that map. 1.1. Determine the total number of national roads that are shown on the map. What did I just say? Now, the biggest mistake that was committed by your brothers and sisters when they calculate the national roads, this is N1, guys, ne? And this N1, when you in Bloemfontein is still the N1. And then as you travel in Worcester, it's still there, the N1. Your brothers are counting this as 3. It can't. It is not 3. It is only 1. It is one road. Though it appears 3 times, but it's still 1 N1. So when we count the road, the same with N2. You see N2 there, N2 there, N2 there, N2 there. Your brothers and sisters were saying we've got 4 N2s. Wrong. It's only 1 N2. So when we count, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I hope I didn't make a mistake. I think we have 10 national roads. Unless if I didn't, yeah, I counted 10 years. I think we have 10 national roads. They said, the question said what? The total number. You don't go and write them and say it's N1, it's N2, it's N3, N4, N4. This is wrong. They didn't say identify them or name them. They just said the number. So the correct answer is 10 national roads. Give the general direction of Potchefstroom from Bloemfontein. What did I say with this one? I said the fact that they gave us the compass, they are definitely going to ask us about the compass. And when the question says general, then you know they want you to use what? To use them, the compass direction. And then it says from where? From Bloemfontein. If it says from, that is where you are going to position your compass direction. So we look at Bloemfontein. Here is Bloemfontein. So this is where we are going to position. This is Bloemfontein. This is where we are going to position our compass. This is Bloemfontein. And then remember, what did you say? We said never, ever smoke weed. So what do we want? We want the direction of Potchefstroom. Where is Potchefstroom? There is Potchefstroom. So what is the general direction? There. What is the general direction, guys? It is southeast. So the correct answer is southeast. So as soon as they say from, that is where you go and draw your compass. If I wanted the general direction of maybe, let's say, Uppington from Mmabatho. Where is Mmabatho? Here is Mmabatho. I said from Mmabatho, right? So this is where I will draw my compass. At Mmabatho, I will draw the compass. It is never, ever smoke weed. I want the direction of what? Of Uppington. So there is Uppington. It means the general direction is what? Is southwest. So this is how you use the compass. Give one road that Thabo and friends can use from Pretoria to Cape Town without changing to other roads that lead to Cape Town. So is there a way that they are traveling from Pretoria to Cape Town and they just travel on one single road? Let's check that. Here is Pretoria. Where is Cape Town? Here is Cape Town. So the only road that I see that is a single road is this one. It is the N1. Do you see still the N1, right until you get to Cape Town? It doesn't change. So the one road that you can use is what is? It is the N1. Name 2 national roads that lead to Cape Town from Pretoria. Remember, when we're traveling from Pretoria to Cape Town, we said N1 is just one road. So here they want via Springbok. Remember when I said via means you are going to pass there first before you get to your destination. So it means from Pretoria, before they get to Cape Town, they must first start at Springbok. Where is Springbok? Here is your Springbok. So it means from Pretoria, when they go to Springbok, they must use what? They must use N14. Guys, can you all see the N14? So the first road, it is there, the N14. And then when they get to Springbok, they must change routes and take what? And then they must take the N7. So the correct national roads, it is N14 and the N17. Very important. The question only said 2. You don't show off and give 3 or 4. You are going to be penalized. If they want 2, you give 2. If they want 1, you give 1. If they want 3, you give 3. There's no extra marks for giving extra answers. Instead, you are penalized. You will lose the marks for giving extra. 1.5. Thabo and friends will travel from Pretoria, again, from Pretoria Along the N1, this is the N1, remember? This is the N1 there from Polokwane. Along the N1, I'm highlighting it in red. Past the first city. What is from Pretoria? What is the first city? It is Johannesburg. Past the second city. Okay, let's see from Johannesburg, still on the N1. What is the second city? It is Bloemfontein. Cities are big towns, ne? And take a rest at the third town. Which town is that? Let's see, after Bloemfontein, what is the third town? This is the third town. So this is the name of the third town, which is what it is, Colesberg. So you see here, they were giving you instructions. We are following a set of instructions. This is where I said you must paint it with your blue pen. You must draw there so that you don't get lost along the way. 1.6, calculate the actual distance to the nearest kilometer between Pretoria and Cape Town. If approximately 128 millimeters is the distance measured on the map, the length of the bus scale is approximately 27 millimeters. I measured for you because I wouldn't be able to measure on the screen. But in the exam on Monday, they might not be this nice and measure for you. You might be expected to first make the measurement on the map from one place to another, and also make the measurement on the bus scale. So they told us that the length of the bus scale, meaning that from 0 here to there to 300 kilometers, it is how much? It is 27 millimeters. So what you do when you write a scale, it is always the distance on the map is to the actual distance. So the distance that we measured on the map is how much? It is 27 millimeters. So you'll write it, it is 27 millimeters. And then the actual distance of the bus scale is how much? It is 300 kilometers. So we want to know, they saying they want the actual distance. So it means, remember, this is our actual side. So we want this side. This is our actual. Let me write it as actual. We want the actual distance between Pretoria and Cape Town. If 128, it is the distance measured on the map. So remember, the map distance is this side, meaning that it is 128 millimeters. So from here on, I'm going to cross multiply. When I cross multiply, I say 27 millimeters multiplied by the actual equals to 128 millimeters multiplied by what? Multiplied by 300 kilometers. Remember, I want the actual. So I want to get rid of this 27 millimeters. Therefore, I'm going to divide by 27 millimeters. So what I'm doing on this side, I must also do on the other side to say divide by 27 millimeters. Why am I doing this? So that the 27 millimeter and the 27 millimeter can cancel. So I'm left with what? I'm left with actual equals to the millimeters cancel the millimeters. So now I'm going to take out my calculator. I can never do this in my head. That tells you that even on Monday, you can never go into the exam room without your calculator. Let's work it out together. We will say 128 multiplied by 300. It is equals to 38,400. But remember, it is what? It is in kilometers. And then we divide by 27. And then that divided by 27. The answer that I'm getting this side, guys, I'm getting 1,422,22 in what? In kilometers. They say here, calculate to the nearest kilometer. The fact that it says to the nearest something, it means they want the answer as a whole number. They don't accept decimals. So this as a whole number, it will be 1,422 kilometers. That is our answer to the nearest whole number. We always write the answer that you get from the calculator and then you write the rounded off answer. You must show the true answers. So guys, this you can expect it in the exam on Monday. Remember, I said with the scale, you might be expected to do the calculations. Whether it's a bar scale or a number scale, the principle is the same. Use the distance that we've calculated in the previous slide. How much was our distance? It is 1,422. So use that distance. I'm going to write it down there. The distance is 1,422 kilometers. Use the distance calculated in the previous slide to determine the number of liters of petrol they will need for a return trip. Guys, return trip means gaan en terug. So you are traveling twice. If the distance is 1,422 for a return trip, it means you double. You will say 1,422 kilometers, multiply that by 2. So we'll say 1,422 times 2, and then it will give us 2,844 kilometers. So it means this is the total distance they would have traveled. A return trip, if their car consumes 5.9 liters per 100 kilometers. So it means their car, for every 100 kilometer that they travel, it needs 5.9 liters of petrol. So I'm going to write it down as a ratio because I'm always relying on the ratio method. I'm going to say, okay, for 5.9 liters, it can cover us what? 100 kilometers. But for a return trip, how many kilometers do we need? Are we going to travel? We are going to travel 2,844 kilometers. So what do we want? What was the question? Determine the number of liters. So I'm going to say here, this is N. N for what? N for the number of liters. You can use anything. You can use a question mark if you want. It's okay. So I'm going to cross multiply again. I'm going to say N multiply by 100 kilometer equals to, and then I'm going to say 5.9 multiply by 2,844. So 5.9 liters multiply by 2,844 kilometers. Remember, I only want N, which is the number of liters. But now this 100 kilometer is disturbing me. I don't like it. So I'm going to divide by what? By 100 kilometer. And when I'm doing this side, I'm also going to do on the other side to divide by 100 kilometers. Why am I dividing like this again? So that the 100 kilometer can cancel the 100 kilometer. Therefore, this side I'm left with N equals to. Look what is happening here. The kilometers are the same, therefore they will cancel. So it means whatever I'm gonna have here is gonna be in what? In liters. So I'm gonna say my 2,844 multiply by 5.9, and I'm getting the answer of 16,779,6, but I must divide this by what? By 100. Therefore, N equals to, divide by 100. Guys, I'm always relying on my calculator. It would be 167,796 liters of petrol. So these are the number of liters, and I'm not going to round it off because even the one that is given to us, it is given as a decimal. So I can leave it like this, or you can round it to one decimal place. It is still okay. There's nothing wrong with it. So we say N equals to the number of liters that we need. We need 167,796 liters of petrol. We've got question 2. Question 2, they say the Jonas family are residing in Kimberley and they plan to visit Sun City during the school holidays. They use the strip map that is shown to plan their holiday. So this type of a map is called a strip map. Another person can say a strip chart, which is still okay. Before we go to the calculations, guys, let's interpret our map. I hope it's very clear and visible on your side there. We've got this distance here. it's for 0 to what? To 455. And then again here we've got 0 to what? To 455. This distance on the side here, it represents the distance on the N1. It represents the distance on this road only. It means we can use these distances if we want the distances between the places that are on the N1. And what are those places? It is Bloemfontein, it is Wynberg, it is Ventersberg, it is Kroonstad. We can't calculate for Koppes because Koppes is outside of the N1. Vereeniging, outside. But Johannesburg, it is on the N1. And finally, Pretoria, it is also on the N1. So the distances on the sides are only meant for the places that are lying on the N1. If we want the distances for these other places, let's say for Potchefstroom, it means you need to offer from the N1, you must drive an additional 98 kilometers up to here, and then so that we can get to Potchefstroom. If I wanted the distance from Kimberley, maybe to Warren, it means from Kimberley to Warren, the distance is what? Is 75 kilometers. If I wanted the distance from Kimberley to Bloemfontein, the distance from Kimberley to Bloem is what? Is 177 kilometers. If maybe I want the distance from Bloemfontein to Kroonstad, we'll say from Bloem to Kroonstad, both of them are on the N3. So I will just say from 0 to Kroonstad, it is what? It is 209 kilometers. If I want the distance from Bloemfontein to Bethlehem, this is Bloemfontein, this is Bethlehem. So it's gonna be from Bloemfontein, remember it's on the N1, to this place here. What is the distance there? It is 108 kilometers. It is 108 kilometers. Plus, from the N1, you have to travel another distance. A distance of how much? Of 125 plus 125 kilometers. Then it will give us a distance of what? 108 plus 125. It will give us 233 kilometers. So guys, this is how you work with a strip chart. If I wanted the distance from Bloemfontein to Potchefstroom, where is Potchefstroom? There is Potchefstroom. Where is Bloemfontein? Here is Bloemfontein. So we're gonna start with from Bloemfontein to Kimberley, which is 177, plus from Kimberley to Warren, it is what? It is 75, plus from Warren to Christiana, it is 42 kilometers. From Christiana to Bloemhof, it is what? It is 52 kilometers. From Bloemhof to Wolmaranstad, it is what? It is 64 kilometers. From Wolmaranstad to Klerksdorp, the distance is what? Is 82 kilometers. Finally, from Klerksdorp to Potchefstroom, the distance is what? Is 55 kilometers. So that is how you will calculate the distance from Bloemfontein to Potchefstroom. You will not use this distance because this distance, it is only for the places that are on the N1. Now, the family plans to stop for breakfast in the third town on their route via Potchefstroom to Sun City. Let's check where they're traveling from again. They are from Kimberley and they are going where they're going to Sun City. So let's check. It means they're traveling from Kimberley here. This is their point 1. Where are they going? They're going to Sun City. This is their arrival. But they want to travel via Potchefstroom. So it means from Kimberley. When you travel via Potchefstroom, you are traveling on this road. You are not going to travel on the N3. So the family plans to stop for breakfast in the third city. So from Kimberley, the first city is Warren. The second city is Christiana. So the third city, it is what? It is Bloemhof. In the third city, They want to stop then. So what is the town where they will stop? It is Bloemhof. So the answer there is Bloemhof. That is where they will stop. They realize that they need to collect a package in Kronstadt and decide to travel via Bloemfontein. Remember, they're from Kimberley. So now instead of using this road, now they want to travel via Bloemfontein. It means from Kimberley, they will pass where they will pass Bloemfontein. And then they want to collect something where in Kronstadt. Where is Kronstadt? Here is Kronstadt. Calculate the distance they will travel to Kronstadt. So the first distance is from Kimberley to where? To Bloem. And then from Bloem to where? To Kronstadt. So let's check from Kimberley to Bloem. What is the distance? It is 177. Plus from Bloem to Kronstadt, this is the distance. It is what? It is 209. And then you add the two. We say 177 plus 209. What is the answer? I'm getting 386 kilometers. That is the distance they will travel. We've got a different question now. Determine the maximum number of boxes that can be packed if the boxes are packed as shown below. Remember, this is your packaging. And then here, we've got a big box. In this big box, we are going to pack what? We are going to package the small boxes. So this big box, it has a length of 56 centimeters. It has a width of 40 centimeters. It has a height of 24 centimeters. Whereas the small box has a length of 7 centimeters. It has a width of 4 centimeters. And finally, it has a height of 6 centimeters. So what must happen is that we must pack the small boxes, I'm going to say is number 1, into the big box which is number 2. So guys, what we need to know is that before we can package, we must always make sure that our units are the same. And in this case, we've got centimeters in the big box. We also have centimeters in the smaller box. So we are happy. All our units are the same. So how do we pack them? This is how they want us to pack them. Do you see that it is the length of the bigger box against the length of the smaller box? And then it is the width of the bigger box against the width of the smaller box. And then finally, it is the height of the bigger box against the height of the smaller box. So when we package them, you are going to write your formula. Your formula, you'll say that length of the big box over the length of the small box. So what is the length of the big box? It is 56 centimeters. And then the length of the smaller box, it is what? It is 7 centimeters. And then you take out your calculator, guys. We say 56 divided by 7. And then I'm getting the answer 8. Meaning that across the length, 8 boxes can fit in. I want you guys to quickly determine for me, when we do it across the width, how many small boxes can fit across the width of the bigger box. You do this one quickly, 1 minute, and we'll be back shortly. Welcome back. I hope you guys got the answer. Now let's do it together, then we can compare our answers. When we do it across the width, we will say the width of the big box over the width of the small box. So what is the width of our big box? It is 40 centimeters. We'll say 40 centimeters. The width of our small box, it is 4 centimeters. And then you punch this on your calculator. I'm getting 10 boxes. And now let's do it across the height. We say height of the big box over the height of the small box. What is the height of our big box again? It is 24 centimeters. So it is 24 centimeters over the height of the small box. It is what it is? 6 centimeters. So 24 divided by 6, we get what? We get 4. And then guys, what we do now, we want the total number of boxes that can fit in. So to get the total, you are going to take the 8 across the length, and then you multiply. You will always multiply. You don't add, you will always multiply. Multiply by what? By the 10. Multiply by what? Multiply by 4. And then let's do our math. 8 times 10 times 4. The answer is 320 boxes. Meaning that if we pack the boxes in this fashion, we will be able to fit in 320 boxes. If we were to pack the boxes differently, remember the previous example, we're packing them length across length, width across width. But look at this case now. In this case, we are now packing them length across what? Across the shorter side. And then here it is width of the big box against the length of the smaller box. Let's try this way. When it is the width of the bigger box divided by what? It is now the length of the smaller box. So in the exam, you will always be told how to pack them. So look at the width of the big box. What is the width of our bigger box? It is 40 centimeters. 40 centimeters. What is the length of our small box? It is 7 centimeters. So when we divide the two, we'll say 40 divided by 7, and then I'm getting 5,7. 5,714, and then the other decimals. Can we actually have 5,7 boxes? No. So it means if you pack them like this, only 5 boxes will be able to fit in. Because if you say 6, the 6th box cannot fit in. The space is not enough to fit in box number 6. And because it's a complete box, you can't cut it and say, I'm cutting it, I'm squeezing it in. No, it's impossible. So there's only 5 boxes. So with packaging, if you are calculating packaging and then you get a decimal number, you will always round down. It doesn't matter how big the number is after the comma. Even if it can be 5,999, you will always round down. And then question 4, Avella bought a piece of furniture that needs to be assembled. It is made up of a wooden top and wooden frame and the metal screws and the bolts. The diagram alongside shows the part numbers and the assembly instructions using the part numbers. So this is the item that must be assembled. This is the item. We don't know the name of the item. And these are the part. It means this part, which is the top part, there's only one piece of that. And then this parts, there's how many pieces? There's 2 pieces of that. And then we've got these 2 pieces of those. We've got screws. This one, at least they're labeled. This one is not labeled. These ones, the bolt, at least they are also labeled. So 4.1, you are expected to determine the quantity of the wooden parts. Remember, here what do we have? We've got the screws. We've got this thing that is screwing in the screw. Obviously, it can't be a wood. It looks like it's a metal. We've got the bolts. The bolts are also metal. But the top part of this furniture, this one, and the bottom part, this one, and then the two of these, the four of them, they are what they are made of those are the wooden. So it will be 2, 4, 6, 7. So we've got 7 parts that are wooden parts. And then guys, with this section, I told you that the section of assembling diagram, it is your lower order type of questions, and it is not something that you can say I wasn't taught. You are given a diagram, and the questions that you are asked will be based on the provided diagram. Like this one, it says determine the total number of balls. They told you that this is a bolt, and how many balls are given? It is 8 pieces. So it is really something that is not worth stressing about. So with that being said, I am going to move from this section of the assembling diagram. It is something that you should be able to answer. Let us look at a conversions example. Below is a recipe that Michelle will use to make the rusk for her husband. So this is a recipe for making what? For making the buttermilk rusk. So the ingredients for this recipe, we've got 1.5 kilogram of self-raising flour. There is 3 milliliters of salt. There is cream of tartar. There is 500 gram butter, 350 grams sugar, 500 milliliters buttermilk, and finally, very, very important, that this recipe makes 25 rusk. So this is they will always tell you when they give you a recipe that this recipe is enough for so many number of people, or it can make so many number of items. And in this case, it's making what? 25 rusk. So question number 1, write down the amount of butter. You go to butter. There is my butter. Write down the amount of butter in grams you need to make 25 rusk. Remember, 25 rusk, already our recipe, it is for 25 rusk. So how much butter are we using? We need 500 grams. So the correct answer there, it is 500 grams. Convert the mass of the self-raising flour in the ingredients to grams. What is the mass of our self-raising flour? It is 1,5 kilograms, and then we must convert this word to grams. Remember, this you are expected to know by heart. So if you wrote this at the beginning in your answer sheet, you wrote that between kilograms and grams, the conversion factor is what? Is 1,000. And if you are converting from kilograms to grams, you are going to multiply. So to get the answer here, you will say 1.5 multiplied by 1,000, which will give you how much? It will give you 1,500 grams. Straightforward. Michelle wants to bake 50 rusk. Remember, this recipe makes how many rusk? It makes only 25. So she wants to bake 50 rusk. By how much must she increase the amounts in the ingredients? So all these ingredients, they only make 25. If she wants to make 50, meaning from 25 to 50, what did she do? She times by 2. So it means all the ingredients, she must multiply them by 2. Multiply by 2. Or another person can just say she must double, because to double means multiply by 2. She must double the ingredients. Michelle calculated that it would take her an extra 40 minutes to mix all of the ingredients and shape them into balls. At what time must she start mixing the ingredients if she wants to put the rusk in the oven to bake at 1535? So it means she wants to be done with whatever processes that she's doing. So if it's going to take her 40 minutes, when should she start working? So it means from 1535, from 1535, we are going back. You must reverse the time with what? With 40 minutes. So to make things easier for myself, I'm going to remove first the 35 minutes. So from this 40 minutes, I'm taking out 35 minutes. So when I take out 35 minutes here, I'm left with 15 1500. Now from this 40 minutes, I've taken out 35 minutes. It means I'm now left with what? Left with 5 minutes. So from this 1500, I must now subtract what? I must now subtract 5 minutes. It means now if it is 1500 means 3 o'clock. If you go back with 5 minutes, you are at 55, which is what? Which is 5 to 2. So it means at 14, 15, 55. It's just a reversal. So it means from 1535, let me write it neatly here. You will say in your calculator 1535, and then you subtract. You subtract what? You subtract 14 minutes. You can do this very easy on your calculator using the time button. It should give you what? It should give you 14, 14, 15, 55. With me, I just use the reverse, meaning that I must take back my time for what? With 40 minutes. Michelle has a friend in America who wants to use the recipe, but her oven's temperature is in degrees Fahrenheit. Michelle's friend. So now we need to convert the 180 degrees to degrees Fahrenheit, and we must give our answer to the nearest 10. So the temperature is given then. We must convert this degrees Celsius to degrees Fahrenheit. So we'll then say that degrees Fahrenheit equals to, we substitute into the formula where we see C. What are we going to write? We are going to write 180 multiplied by 1,8 plus 13, 32. Let's punch in the calculator. We say 180 multiplied by 1.8 plus 32. What is the answer that we are getting? I'm getting 356 degrees Fahrenheit. Are we done? No, there was an instruction. We must give our answer to the nearest 10. When they say to the nearest 10, it means they want the answer to be in multiples of 10. And currently we have what? We've got 56. So it means 56 is not allowed. We can either have 50 or 60 because it must be in multiples of 10. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So this is between 50 and 60. Then you ask yourself, 56, is it nearer to 50 or nearer to 60? You got it right. It is nearer to 60, meaning our answer is 360 degrees Fahrenheit. The dimensions of the 2 bedrooms are given as follows. Bedroom 2, it has a length of 14 feet 5 inches. It has a width of 10 feet 9 inches. And then bedroom number 4, it has a length of 12 feet and 2 inches. And then it also has a width of 10 feet and 3 inches. Note that 1 foot is equivalent to 30.48 centimeters. And 1 inch is equals to 0.0254 meters. Remember what I said with this? I said that this is the imperial conversions, that you are not expected to know the conversion factor by heart because this will always be provided to you in the exam. So we are going to use the measurements given to calculate the total length of bedroom 2 and the total length of bedroom 4. And we must calculate that in what? In meters. Let's start with bedroom 2. So with bedroom 2, the length, let's do the length. The length, we've got 14 feet. Let's first convert this 14 feet. When you go to our conversion factor, this is the conversion factor between the feet. That 1 foot is equals to 30.48 centimeters. And how many feet are we converting? We are converting 14 feet. So I'm going to write my foot here because all my feet are this side. 14 feet is equals to, I want what? I want then the length. So I don't have the length. So from here, I'm going to cross multiply. 1 multiplied by the question mark. Anything multiplied by 1, it remains the same. And then I'm going to have 14 multiplied by 30.48. And then I can get my answer. And this is going to be 14 multiplied by 30.48 and then the answer is what? Is 426.72, but this is gonna be in what? In centimeters. But what was the instruction? They want it in meters. Now you ask yourself the conversion between centimeters and meters. You go back to your page where we wrote King Henry died miserable death called measles, and you know that there's a 10, there's a 10, there's a 10. So it means from centimeter to meter. What is the conversion factor? You are going back, therefore you are going to divide. You divide by how many zeros? 1, 2. So it is 1, 2 zeros. And then let's get the answer now in meters. Divide by 100. The answer in meters is 4,2672 meters. Remember, this is just one part, the 14 feet. There's still the inches that we must convert. There's still these inches, and then there is a conversion factor between the inches, that 1 inch is equals to 0.0254 meters. But how many inches are we converting here? We are converting 5 inches. So I will say 5 inches is equals to, I make this a question mark again, and then we cross multiply. I will have my question mark equals to 5 multiplied by 0.0254 meters. And then let me punch this on the calculator. I hope you guys are also using your calculator there. Otherwise, you're going to start falling asleep because you're not doing anything. We've got 0.127. It is meters. But now we want the total length. So to get the total length, remember in MathSlit, when you see the word total, total means addition. You must add. So the total length for bedroom 2 would be this 4,2672 meters plus this 0,127 meters, and then we add 4,2672. I'm getting 4,3942 meters. So this is just the length for bedroom number 2. I will not go to the width. I will not go to the length of bedroom number 2. It's just the principle of how to work between the metric end and the imperial. I know it seems like a lot, but guys, it is doable. You have the whole weekend. Go and revise it. Go and remind yourself. You'll see that it's not actually that very bad. And then question 7. Stephanie's family is driving to Cape Town from Durban and found the information below on Google Maps. Most of us, we have cell phones, and when you are traveling from one place to another, we use Google Maps. So this person is driving from Durban, and this is where the location is. I'm sorry, they're driving to Durban. The location is where they are currently. It means they are where they are at Cape Town. Or what did they say? Or they're driving to Cape Town from Durban. It's fine. Either way, it's between Durban and Cape Town. That is the traveling. So what we know is that they'll be traveling via the N1 for how long? For 17 hours and 23 minutes. And then what would be the distance? The distance is 1,636 kilometers. It's quite very far. So now the question says, determine this average speed of this journey to the nearest kilometer per hour for 6 marks. They want us to calculate the speed, but now the problem is that the formula that is given to us, they gave us the distance formula. Let's write down our information. We've got the distance. Our distance is 1,636 kilometers. So it's useless for us to use this formula because we already have the distance. What else do we have then? We've got time. What is the time that is given? They gave us 17 hours and 23 minutes. So our time is 17 hours and 23 minutes. But when we are going to calculate, we can't substitute 17 hours 23 minutes in our formula. So these minutes I'm going to convert them to hours because they want the speed in what? In hours. So how do we convert again from minutes to hours? We divide. We divide by what? By 60. Meaning that our time would be 17 hours plus. Then I will say 23 divided by 60, which is equals to 0.38. So plus 0.38 hours, which is equals to 17.38 hours. It means this is our what? This is our time. But now remember the DSTV, and then we close it. We know that this is division, this is multiply. We have time, we have what we have then, the distance. What are we looking for? We are looking for speed. So we know that if we want speed equals to distance on top over what? Over time. And what is our distance? It is 1,636 kilometers over what is our time? Our time is 17.38 hours. Guys, you punch this in your calculator. This is not something that you can guess. It's 1636 divided by 17.38. You divide the two and the answer is 19.413 kilometers per hour. But what was the instruction? To the nearest kilometer. Again, when it says nearest something, they want the answer as a whole number, not decimal. So here it means now our answer will be 94 kilometers per hour. This is how you will answer this question on Monday when you see it in your paper too. Avela wants to create a safe space for children to play. The U-shaped diagram below shows the playground at the school. So this is the diagram of the playground at the school. We see the dimensions there. This is the school and this is then the playground. My only problem is that the dimensions, we have meters, 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 meters. A big problem here is what is centimeters. So on Monday, you must be able to identify such mistakes, and it means you know that I must immediately convert this to what? To meters. Let's go to the questions. Explain the term perimeter in the context of the playground. We know by now that perimeter means the distance around a shape, but that is the basic explanation. In this case, we want to know in the context of a playground. So what can you say? You can say it is the total distance around the playground at the school. When they talk about the context, it is the story that is given to you. So in this case, the story that is given to us, it is the story about a playground. Determine the length of fencing that is required to fence the playground. Remember, we said perimeter, it is the total distance. Distance and length, same WhatsApp group. So the fact that they want the length, they actually want this. The length, this is the length that they're looking for. So what is it actually that we're looking for? We are looking for perimeter. But now we cannot calculate our perimeter yet because our units are not the same. We've got this centimeter here and it is a problem. So now let's quickly do our King Henry. King Henry died miserable death called measles. It means now and then we've got a 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 and a 10. So you must move from what? From centimeters to what? To meters. You are going back, meaning now you are going to do what? You are going to divide, and you divide by what? By 1 to 0. So whatever I'm doing, I must divide by 100. But what am I dividing? It is 1,200, and then it will be divided by what? By 100, and it gives us what? It gives us 12 centimeters. So if we do the perimeter, now we are happy. Perimeter is going to be this 12 meter plus 3 meter plus 7 meter plus 6 plus 10 plus 3 plus 15 plus the 12. Remember, I said you cannot calculate if the units are not the same. Josie buys a cylindrical easy set pool for her children. There is the pool. This pool, it has a diameter. I'm sorry, the letters are on top of another. It has a diameter. What is the diameter? It is 3.4 meters. It also has a height. The height is how much? It is 1.2 meters. And then they say, take note, 1000 cubic centimeters is equals to 1 liter. Now, we must determine the radius of the pool in centimeters. What do we have? What can help us? We've got the diameter. We know that the diameter equals to 3.4 meters. If you have the diameter, to get the radius, you must just divide by 2. And then let's see what is the answer. 3.4 divided by 2, the answer is 1,7 meters. But now they said they want the answer in what? In centimeters. You go back to your King Henry. From meters to centimeters, you are moving from a larger unit to a smaller unit. Therefore, you are going to multiply. And the conversion factor there is it's 100. So 1.7 multiplied by 100, I think it's 170. It's 170 centimeters. But let us double check, guys. You must also check me that side so that I don't give you guys poison. Yes, it is 170 centimeters. This is our radius. You must expect this in the exam next week. Take note of the following. The height of the pool is 1.2 meters. The diameter of the pool is 3.4. But remember here, we already calculated the radius on the other side, and it was 117 centimeters. And 1 cubic centimeter is equals to 1 liter. Determine the volume of the pool in liters. So they want the volume of the pool in what? In liters. Round off your answer to the nearest 10, and the formula is V equals to pi multiplied by radius squared multiplied by the height. And then pi equals to 3.142. Remember, I said the value of pi will always be given. Now, let us see in our formula. We've got our radius. We are happy. But the challenge now is that our radius is in centimeters, but our height is in meters. So before we substitute, I said you don't substitute units that are not the same. If your units are not the same, don't even touch the formula. Before you go to the formula, make sure that your units are the same. So now let's convert our height. From 1.2 meters to go to centimeters is from a bigger unit to a smaller unit. Therefore, you are going to multiply. And you multiply by 100. The answer, I think, is 120 centimeters. Now we can substitute into the formula to say V equals to 3,142 multiplied by the radius. It's what? It's 170. Guys, very, very important. The 170 must be squared. Multiply by the height. What is the height now? It is 120 centimeters. Guys, and 170 squared, it is not 170 times 2. It is 170 multiplied by 170. So from here, punch it in as it is on your calculator. We say 3.142 multiplied by 170, but the 170 is squared. Multiply by 120. And the answer that I'm getting in my calculator, guys, I'm getting a very big number. I'm getting 10,896,456. Remember, this answer is in what? Is in cubic centimeters. But they said they want the answer in what? In liters. So we are going to use this conversion factor. It means from here now we will divide by 1,000. Why 1,000? Because of this conversion factor that is provided there. So we'll take the answer divided by 1,000, and then we'll get 10,896,456 liters. But what was the instruction? They want the answer to the nearest 10. Remember, what did I say? Nearest 10. It means they want the answer in multiples of 10. Can either be 10, 20, 30, 40. And then in this case, we have what? We've got 90, 96. It can't be 96. It is either 90 or 80 or 100. So you ask yourself, 96, is it nearer to 90 or to 100? This is definitely nearer to a 100. So if it's nearer to 100, it affects this one as well. So your answer will be 10,900 liters. So go and revise your rounding. So many questions they want you to round, so you must know how to round off properly. And then Michelle uses a recipe to make the rusk for her husband. The recipe requires her to use certain amount of buttermilk, and alongside is a picture of the rectangular buttermilk cartoon with some of the measurement. It has a height of 125, it's got a length, and there is a width that is not given. So if the length is hidden there, guys. So but what we must do here, we must explain the term capacity in the given context. Remember I said, what is the context? It is what? It is the story. What is our story again? Our story, guys, context. Context is what it is? The story that is given to you. So what is the story? They said Michelle uses a recipe to make rusk for her husband. The recipe requires her to use a certain amount of buttermilk. So this story is about, because it's the box, it's a buttermilk. Alongside is the picture of the buttermilk carton with some of the measurements that are shown. So if I were to explain capacity, it is the amount that a container can hold. It's how much a container can hold. That how much it is the capacity. So according to this story, it is how much the buttermilk carton, how the buttermilk carton can hold. This is how you explain capacity. In your classroom now, where you are seated, if they say this classroom has a capacity of 40 learners, it means this class is able to accommodate 40 learners. So that is what we are talking about, capacity. So don't confuse capacity with what? With volume. Because volume, it is the amount of space that a 3D shape can take. That it can take, or that it occupies. Whereas now when you talk about capacity, it is how much you can hold. So I hope you understand the difference between the two. But then in this case, it was just about what? About capacity. And when they talk about the given context, it is about the story that they gave to you. And then girls and boys, I hope you have enjoyed the lesson, and then you have taken in as many notes as possible. Unfortunately, we have come to the end of our session. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was beneficial. Remember, you still have tomorrow, you still have Sunday to revise and prepare for your paper 2 on Monday. But most importantly, I hope that paper 2 treats you better than paper 1. I hope you go and eat that paper and show it what you are made for. Good luck again on your last prelim paper on mathematical literacy. I will see you guys next time. Thank you.